Hello everyone, this is Dr. Lashik, and I'm going to give you a brief instructions on how to complete the peer review of a classmate's paper. So first off, when you receive your classmate's paper, please do not include your peer review on that very paper. Instead, open up a new fresh Word document and include everything that you see here on that fresh new Word document, and then that will be what you turn in to the instructor. If you recall, you have to think back to when we talked about peer reviews in the class. And when we discussed peer reviews, we talked about two different things that the reviewers offer us. So let's pretend that we are writing for a journal. We've submitted our potential journal article to that journal, and that paper is then distributed to people who are considered experts in that field. They then usually do two things. They start off by usually spending some time summarizing your paper. And that way, if you read it as the writer of that paper, that summary, and it's so off base, you can do one of two things with that information. You can either come to the conclusion that the reader was not paying attention to what he was reading and to basically discredit that person's feedback, or the smarter thing to do is the second one, is you can take that as a sign that you need to rewrite up good portions of the paper that are confusing. You need to clear things up. If someone has a summary that is so off base, you need to make your writing clearer. And so that's what I'm hoping we're going to do in here, is take that second approach, is that we need to improve what we've written if the summary is way off base. And so as peer reviewers for our classmates' papers, we're going to be doing two things. We're going to be summarizing their work and then also providing some feedback. So part one is the summary. This is what you're going to summarize isn't the entire paper, but you will be summarizing in detail the literature review and the conclusion of the results section. And so what you will do is you will include one sentence per paragraph of the literature review. And the easiest way for us instructors to grade that is if you say paragraph 1 equals, and then whatever your summary sentence is, in your own words, of course, to demonstrate that you truly understand the gist of what they were trying to say. Move on to paragraph 2, do the same thing all the way to the end of the literature review. And then you can skip all of the methods and skip most of the results where they just go over the numbers right to their conclusion sentence, which should be identifying the relationship. So their variable x was correlated or was not correlated with variable y. And include a summary sentence for that as well. So you should have, if they have 6 paragraphs for their literature review, you should have 6 sentences at least, and the results section conclusion. So for part 2, we're going to be offering feedback, but since we're not real peer reviewers working for a journal, and we're just trying to give good, helpful feedback to our classmates, we're going to do it a little bit different than perhaps a peer reviewer would actually do. Since it isn't your job to polish up this paper for them, all you're going to be doing is providing one piece of positive feedback and one piece of negative feedback per section of that paper. So we have 4 sections of the paper: the lit review, the method, the results, and the discussion. So you will be creating 8 pieces of feedback, 4 positive and 4 negative. All right, we have to make sure that our positive and our negative comments are substantive. This means that they are not on grammar, spelling, or APA formatting issues. They should be on the organization of the paper. Maybe you could suggest a way to organize the paper differently that would be better, or make more sense to the readers. You could suggest that the writer elaborate more on a particular topic, or not include as much information on a particular topic that may seem irrelevant to the reader. Maybe they need to include a part of the literature review, the method, the results, or the discussion that they just completely missed. Even though it was in the instructions, perhaps they never include their hypothesis, and that's a problem. And so at the bottom of these instructions, you'll see things to consider when completing part 2. And those things to consider are all things that we as students should be familiar with, since we all wrote these sections of our paper already. So they shouldn't tell you anything that you don't already know about each section, but what they do is they remind you what needed to be included in each section, so that you can check back to that when you are providing feedback or coming up with positive and negative feedback for their paper. So of course, since we are only classmates and we are not mean-spirited peer reviewers, we need to make sure that we are wording our negative comments in a non-accusatory, respectful tone. And one way to do that isn't just being nice, simply. The second way to make sure that you're really giving them non-accusatory language is to provide concrete suggestions. So, for example, you suggest restructuring a section. If all you say is restructure this section, it stinks. That's not appropriate. You could say, why don't you consider, I was a little bit confused with this part. I would recommend restructuring this section. And then you're not done there, though. You have to suggest how it could be restructured to make it even clearer. So maybe you could say, this might be a great way to organize this information to make it a little bit clearer for the reader. That would be an appropriate negative comment that would receive full points. So make sure all 4 of your negative comments are worded that way, where you not only provide a very concrete explanation of what they did wrong, but then provide a suggestion of how to fix it. And also hedge around it. Don't tell them they stink, don't make accusations, but instead, just let them know this could use a little work and here's why I'm suggesting it. Again, to assist with the completion of part 2, here are the major requirements for each section of the paper that you are already familiar with because you yourself have written them. And again, you're not required to offer feedback for each of the below items. They are just here to assist you with your completion of part 2. All right, please email me if you have any questions.